Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at KUsports.com. I'm Matt Tait, joined by Tom Keegan. And Tom, there is some good news surrounding KU football this week. Would you like to hear it?
I'd love to hear it.
There's a lot, actually. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot. And
Just go bam, 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 bam.
They competed with Texas Tech and looked pretty good in that game, especially in the second half.
Sloppy, though they were at times.
Indeed. Ryan Willis looked good again.
Terrific.
Maybe really good. Set some freshman records, threw the ball all over the field, showed off his arm. Nice-looking prospect there.
Yeah.
But I think the best news, and even more so than Willis in some ways, is that Clint Bowen has this KU defense taking the right strides, maybe even turning a corner. He told me this week that he's got them doing things in the secondary that are a little bit different in terms of coverages. They don't just have to line up in one coverage anymore and hope it works. They're disguising things. They're doing different coverages, and that's allowing the guys up front a little more time to get after the passer. We saw that against Texas Tech. They had 5 sacks against a team that had only given up 2 in 6 games. So
amazing.
That's really good news, and it opens up.
This is a Texas Tech team that averaged 51 points a game in Big 12 play. Kansas holds them to 30, and 7 of those were a pick 6.
Awesome. Yeah, it just opens up the kind of games that Clint Bowen can call when he trusts that his guys can execute more than just base stuff. So,
do you believe it's going to last?
I don't know. I mean, there's some good offenses still out there, but I do believe that since they played well and got some confidence from that, I think they could maybe have turned a corner in that regard.
Kind of like last year when they played TCU and wait a minute. Samaj P. Ryan. A good blog if you haven't read it yet that Matt Tait has up.
Been a rough go after close calls like they had against TCU, or even after a victory like they had against West Virginia a couple of years ago. KU has been atrocious the following week. Really, really bad. So check it out. Tell me the bad news, since we segued perfectly into that.
Well, the bad news is that coming up next, not only is there a road game, and we all know that Kansas hasn't won in 35 consecutive games away from Lawrence, but it's against the best defense that Kansas will face all year. Baylor had a good defense. Baylor has an underrated defense. Baylor has a massive defensive line. Well, Oklahoma State's defensive line is even better. They've got guys who fly off the edge, and they have big, big bodies in the middle of the defensive line. This is the most harassed that their quarterback will be all year, Ryan Willis, and he's looked good. He's handled pressure very well so far. This is another level of pressure. And if he doesn't have a good game Saturday, doesn't mean a thing. A true freshman going against a great defense, no, this guy's still a very good quarterback. So the bad news is, man, you get out of one tough game where you overachieve, and, man, this conference is just relentless. And this is going to be the toughest challenge all year for the Kansas offense.
No doubt. That's one of the things I've loved. Maybe the thing I've loved the most about Willis is how he's willing to hang in there and take a hit as he throws the ball. He's done that a bunch of times already, and I don't think it's affected many of those throws. He's a tough kid.
He's very tough, and he's got a good sense of just how long he can hang.
Absolutely.
And he's now sliding at the right time.
Yeah, you love that. I mean, it's different. There are times when it's right to slide, and then a lot of guys don't know how to do that or go down too early or too late even. And
he might be still a hair too late because he scares you watching him, but he gets away with it. And,
imagine being his mother.
Yeah.
If it scares you, it's got to scare the daylights out of her. Well, let's move on to Breakdown Street and talk a little more about this game. It does have the feel of one that might add perfectly to the end of that blog that I just posted. It seems like as good and as encouraging as last week was, KU's set up for a little bit of a rough outing in Stillwater this week. You mentioned the defensive line. Emmanuel Ogbah, I think that's how you pronounce it, is their defensive end. He leads the Big 12 in sacks per game. He's 5th in the nation in sacks per game. He's got 9 hurries this season already, and that is an Oklahoma State school record. Already. Yeah, incredible. So he will be do I have a Coke or something? He will be a huge part of what this offense tries to do and how they try to keep him off. You talked with Zuniga, the fullback. I would imagine he might even have a role in that.
Yeah, and Max, as we like to call in the coach's room, Max Protect. They keep a running back and a fullback in there.
I thought you were going to drop Zuniga's nickname. You know it?
Mikey Damage.
Not bad. Zuni. They call him Zuni.
Wow. You know, I thought only baseball players were clever enough to shorten the name and add a Y.
Nope.
Well, football players are too? That's
it.
amazing.
Last year when I did that day in the life of Clint Bowen story, I spent some time in the linebacker meeting, and that's what Zuniga played last year, and really a lot of this year too. And they had a rule where you had to tell a joke. Any newcomer, had to tell a joke before they could leave the room. And so they made me tell a joke, and it was lame. But
Tater.
in order to break the ice, to kind of encourage me to talk, I have a hard time talking. I'm not a real talker.
No, you have a hard time stopping.
Oh, that's what it is. But they asked, Zuniga to go ahead and tell a joke, and I think it was Ben Heeney who yelled, "Zuni, you're up." It was fantastic. Speaking of Ben Heeney, it was great to see him on the sideline this weekend.
I'd rather see him on the field.
Yeah, that would have helped. I'm surprised he was able to stay off the field, actually, being that close to the action. The over-under for him in tackles last week in the KU game was 6.5. He came in under that because he behaved. But it was cool to see him. He's enjoying his time with the Raiders. And I thought the coolest thing was when the team came back out at halftime after a rough half. I mean, they had done nothing. Ben Heeney said, "Hold on, I got to go do this." And he stood by the ropes, and he high-fived and fist bumped and did everything with every player, yelled encouragement to him. And that's a guy that's, he's got a freaking Jayhawk tattoo. It's no joke for him. This is something that still means a lot to him. So very cool to see him.
And it was cool to have Heeney there to see Joe Dineen play his best game.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Another Kansas linebacker, local boy Joe Dineen.
They call him the local boy. So anyway, that will be key. But there's a lot
of.
They,
you mean we?
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff on the Oklahoma State offense too. The quarterback Mason Rudolph is very efficient. Beatty said that's probably his biggest strength. Is he's so efficient. Doesn't really think too long when he's getting rid of the ball.
Is that kind of what you go to though if there's nothing outstanding about a quarterback?
Pretty face, maybe.
Like the girl with a great personality. I mean, he went there efficient. Well,
we'll find out.
He's not as good as most of the quarterbacks you face in the Big 12. But
agreed.
The Oklahoma State's defense is the best.
Good point. All right, well, let's talk prediction time. Who do you have in this game? Are you going to be as bold as Scott Stanford, our fearless GM, and make a close prediction or maybe even pick KU? Like he's been known to do that. I think he's got 42-38 Oklahoma
He does,
State.
and I'm trying to figure out how to broach the topic with Scott that maybe he needs to join us on a road trip to see how things go when Kansas leaves Lawrence.
Yeah, he's read a lot about it.
Yeah, he has, but maybe being there is just not quite the same as
either way,
reading about it.
Bold. He's a bold man.
He's bold.
And he's ever improving on the golf course. It's a good mixture.
He definitely is. It's going to be hard to take money from next year.
Who do you have?
I have Oklahoma State 38-17, and I'm probably a little optimistic there. The odds makers opened at 35, which I thought was a little high.
Yeah, I did too.
But, I mean, Oklahoma State has a way of disrupting teams that aren't as good as them and defensively, and if you start fumbling and throwing interceptions, it can get ugly. So maybe that's why the odds makers went so high, and Kansas's futility on the road. But I do agree with you that things are looking better because of the quarterback, and the defense had a good game. Let's see if they can double up on that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that factored in is Oklahoma State was off last week, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Whether they used that or not, they may have looked ahead even and used part of their off week to look down the road and past Kansas. And if they did, good for Kansas. That could benefit them. But I just think we've seen it too many times. There's something about Stillwater and that stadium and that environment that KU just struggles. That's where you famously wrote your emergency halftime column a couple of years back during the Turner Gilla era. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, I did see Todd Reason there rally the team to victory.
Back when.
That's getting to be a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm with you.
I was young when that happened.
Neil Young was young, too, right?
Neil Young is forever young.
Nice. His birthday's coming up, I heard.
Yeah, November 12th.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know where I heard that, but somewhere.
His 70th birthday.
Good
Can
stuff.
You believe it?
Good stuff. Crazily, I'm right there with you. I've got 45-17 Oklahoma State, and I wanted to pick a worse score, but I think the Kansas offense and the Kansas defense both took some steps forward last week, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know it doesn't really sound like it. 45-17 isn't close, but it's closer than it could be. Yeah,
not bad.
Yeah, it's closer than 66
you can
to
score
7.
17 on the road against that defense. I think that's a pretty good win.
Absolutely. All right. Well, who's going to be responsible for keeping it sort of close? Who's your primetime pick this week
Well, as much to just call attention to a guy who's been pretty solid when he was thrown in there after an injury to Brandon Stewart.
Doesn't sound like it's going to be Kent Taylor.
No.
Sorry, Kent.
Not this week, which tells you he's going to have a huge week. Martinez Ogletree has been pretty solid at cornerback since taking over for the injured Brandon Stewart, and we haven't really talked about him a lot, and maybe he'll get a pick here and who knows, take it all the way.
I like Martinez a lot. He's a little bit more mature than a true freshman. Obviously, he's a junior college guy, so that helped him, I think. But every time I've seen him at practice, and this is a credit to Brandon Stewart, too, who's been injured, and it sounds like he'll be back, but how much he can play, who knows. They really like to teach and learn from each other. Martinez is a sponge. He'll soak up anything that Brandon Stewart will tell him. He'll learn from Tyrone Miller if he can. I mean, he really just wants to
Kenny
be –
Perry?
Yeah.
Bowen?
Absolutely. He just wants to take it all in and become a good player. And obviously they all do, but it's different. I've really seen this learning eye that he brings to practice. And a very cool kid. We interviewed him after the Baylor game, I think it was, and that was the first interview he had done in his life. And he was a little nervous, but he handled himself pretty well. Confident, polite, fun, nice dude. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from him, and I think that's a very good pick.
I wonder what. Thank you. I wonder what his
pleasure.
nickname is. Ogletree E.
Oh yeah, just put the Y on the end.
Yeah.
They'd probably call him Marmar, or maybe Nez.
Or maybe something to do with it. Leaf.
Yeah, because of a tree.
Yeah.
Right. Or M.O. Martinez Ogletree. What's up, M.O.? Like how they call Bill Cowgill, BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be that.
You never know.
Nezzy.
Nezzy.
Put an E sound on the end.
I like it. All right, well, I'm going to go with DeAndre E. Mann as my pick.
Manny.
Manny. He does actually prefer Dre, which I like a lot. That really fits him. He had a fantastic game last week, 107 yards, 15 carries, including a 41-yard run. Really in the first quarter, the first drive, I think it was, that jump-started that offense a little bit. And I think he's healthy. I think he's a senior that's feeling like his career is slipping away. You know, he's really trying to maximize every quarter, every carry, every game that he can because he sees the end. And, you know, I think he's their best runner. I think he's fast enough to be dangerous that way. I think he runs as hard as anyone. He's a lot like Taylor Cox, but Taylor Cox is coming off that injury, so I think DeAndre's ahead of him. I like DeAndre Mann to have another big game just because of his heart and just because of how hard he runs. So I'm going to go with Manny, DeAndre E. Whoever we got.
Awesome guy, one of my favorites.
Yeah, he really is for sure. So let's finish it off like we always do with the most obnoxious man, or maybe men in your case this week, in sports. Who do you got?
Well, I have the University of Wisconsin basketball fans.
Several men.
They were
and
obnoxious.
women.
You know, funny. Yeah, I'll give them that. But it was obnoxious because the Bucks and the Timberwolves had an NBA exhibition game at Madison's Arena. And
On campus there?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it's I think it's pretty new. Yeah, it is pretty
Cool.
new. And they really gave a hard time. I think it's called the Kohl Center, maybe. They gave a hard time to Tyus Jones, calling him that jerk from Duke. And, you know, Tyus Jones played a great game against Wisconsin. Wisconsin, unbelievable season. I don't know. Personally, I would have so much respect for Tyus Jones and the job he did as a freshman that I'd stand up and give him a huge ovation because he's just such a smart basketball player. But all in good fun, I guess.
Yeah. He was the most outstanding player, wasn't he, of the Final Four?
Yeah, and he was all year long. He hit huge shots down the stretch. He was more of a distributor, but then when they really needed a big bucket, he'd shoot, and that was a great Duke team.
Yeah, it was a great Wisconsin team, too, though.
Yeah, it was.
Frank the Tank, Sammy Bam Bam Decker. Gosh, love those guys.
And it was a Kentucky guy. I forget which Kentucky guy was in the building as well, I guess playing for the Timberwolves. And they were chanting 38-1 at him.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so there's equal parts awesome and obnoxious there. They did well. They got their money's worth for KU Sports Extra for sure, though. That's a good pick. Good stuff. Bobby Nightingale, our own Bobby Nightingale, Mr. Korea we call him.
Yeah.
Big Tyus Jones fan.
Yeah, well, Bobby grew up in the Twin Cities.
Yep.
And remember, he was like the backup scout team player to guard Tyus Jones once, maybe.
Either way, big Duke fan, and he's still celebrating right now.
Yeah.
Gosh.
He played varsity basketball for Cole Aldrich's alma mater.
Yeah.
Bobby Knight.
Didn't he? Wasn't he Cole in a scout game?
No, I think.
Or did he guard Cole or something?
I think
like that?
he guarded Cole's third cousin on one possession for the scout team.
Oh, okay.
Because the guy who was guarding Cole's third cousin tripped up his ankle and had to get it retaped or something.
Bobby, you're up. One of those deals.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then got him out of there quickly.
If he hustles like he does for us, he was probably in there immediately. Did a fantastic job. All of that.
Yeah. Bobby's brother, though, DJ, was a terrific hockey player. Maybe Bobby should have played hockey.
Well, we'll ask him. We'll ask him if he did. My most obnoxious man in sports this week, and I think it's really, really easy. I think it has to be Jose Bautista.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many reasons that you could pick this guy. But the biggest is what he did at Kauffman Stadium after he made the final out of an inning. He caught the ball running off the field. He faked like he was going to throw it to the fans, and then he just kept it. Hey, it's all in good fun, and he doesn't owe that ball to the fans, but why be a jerk about it? That just doesn't make any sense. It's possible there was a little kid in that second or third row that thought a ball was coming his way, got his hopes way up, and then is crushed the rest of the night.
And he didn't pay for the ball.
Right, yeah. So I don't like that. I don't like that he whined in this series about every single pitch thrown to him.
But you do like that he let that bloop fall in.
That was nice. And I don't like how he handled that. Right. Wasn't his fault.
Not his fault.
Wasn't his fault. Yeah. Class right there. Or maybe classless is the word. But all those things, and then add to the fact that he's supposed to be this elite, big-time player, and he's got one hit, 2 hits through 4 games of that series. Joke. I don't like it. I think he's obnoxious. And, it's at least good that he looks the part, though, too. What a bum. All right, that's all the time we've got for KU Sports Extra. We are headed to Stillwater, Oklahoma
to
KU Kruger to see if KU football can respond to its solid effort last week with another one this week. I don't know about you, but if they do, I think that's a really good sign.
Great sign.
Yeah, because they really, generally speaking, have not done that over the last 5-6 years.
And I would, if Willis has a bad game, that's not a bad sign.
No.
That defense is so good, it could just blow away the offensive line.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be interesting. We'll be down there. Check out all our coverage throughout the weekend, and we'll see you guys next week right back here on KU Sports Extra on KUsports.com.
Extra.